Self-improvement isn't just aesthetics, it's discipline, mindset, and showing up. No fluff, just real talk. Welcome to another self-love podcast. Let's get into it. Everyone talks about becoming her, but no one talks about the uncomfortable parts, the sacrifices, the moments that make you question everything. Growth isn't just glow-ups and morning routines. It's lonely nights, discipline, and doing what's right even when it's hard. Sometimes self-improvement feels like losing parts of yourself before you find the new version. Today we're talking about the hard parts of leveling up, the things no one prepares you for but are completely worth it. I'll be honest, growth isn't always cute. It's not always waking up at 5 a.m., feeling motivated and effortlessly becoming the best version of yourself. It's uncomfortable. It's lonely at times, and it forces you to face parts of yourself you might not be ready for. One of the hardest yet most transformative moments of growth for me was when I got sober. Those first 6 months, they felt like I was stepping into an entirely new identity. I had always been the person who drank, the one who could go out, have fun, and blend in with the social norm of grabbing a drink. But suddenly, that wasn't me anymore. And when you change, especially in a big way, you start noticing shifts in the people around you too. Some relationships naturally fade, and that's hard to accept at first. But the truth is, not everyone is meant to walk every part of your journey with you, and that's okay. Another thing I had to sacrifice, comfort zones. And let me tell you, I love a good lazy day. I could easily lounge around all day if I let myself. That's why I've built routines that force me to push past my natural tendencies, like knocking out my workout at 5 a.m. before my brain can convince me otherwise. But beyond just the physical habits, I had to let go of deeper patterns, procrastination, self-doubt, and waiting until I felt ready. You can't level up if you're constantly waiting for a more confident, more motivated version of yourself to magically appear. You have to decide to show up as her now. That doesn't mean it's always easy. I've had plenty of moments where I've thought, is this even worth it? Or why does this feel so hard? But every single time I remind myself, everything is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. We are all in our own lanes, on our own paths, and just because something feels uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. Growth feels weird because you've never been here before. That doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're evolving. And the best part, once you push through the discomfort, you start to see how much stronger, more resilient, and more in tune with yourself you've become. You realize that every challenge, every moment of doubt was just a stepping stone to getting closer to the person you are meant to be. Here's the thing, no one really talks about the hard parts of becoming her. You see the glow up, the success, the confidence, but no one tells you about the nights you lay in bed wondering if you're doing the right thing. Or the moments when you feel like you're losing parts of yourself in the process, but growth isn't supposed to feel easy, and here's why. Your brain is wired to resist change. We crave comfort. It's human nature. Your brain sees new habits, new routines, new ways of thinking as a threat, even when they're good for you. That's why pushing through the first phase of change is the hardest. 2, you're breaking old identities. A huge part of growth is realizing you're no longer the person you once were. That's a beautiful thing, but it's also really unsettling. Whether it's outgrowing a certain lifestyle, distancing yourself from old habits, or simply shifting how you see yourself, it can feel like you're losing parts of you. But the truth is, you're not losing anything. You're making space for the version of you that you've always been meant to become. 3, it feels lonely because not everyone is growing with you. This is the hardest pill to swallow. You'll have moments where you look around and realize that some people don't align with where you're going anymore. And that's painful. But one thing I've learned, the right people will adjust, grow with you, or support you from a distance. The wrong ones will naturally fade away. You don't have to force anything. 4, growth exposes everything you used to ignore. When you commit to leveling up, you start to see things differently. You realize how much of your past actions were rooted in avoidance, numbing emotions, procrastinating on your goals, staying in situations that weren't serving you. Growth forces you to confront all of that. And honestly, that's why most people never do it. It's hard to face yourself. But the ones who do, they're the ones who actually get to the other side. All right, so we've talked about why growth is uncomfortable, but how do you actually move through it instead of giving up when it gets hard? Here are 3 things that helped me stay the course when the discomfort kicks in. 1, accept that discomfort is part of the process. Most people quit because they think growth should feel easier than it does. Instead of resisting the discomfort, expect it. When you know the hard days are part of the deal, you stop seeing them as a reason to quit. Sometimes I remind myself, if it were easy, everyone would do it. When I first got sober, I kept thinking, why does this feel so hard? I had to remind myself that growth isn't supposed to feel cozy. Just because something is uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. 2, don't let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. There will be moments when you're frustrated, exhausted, or questioning if it's worth it. That is not the time to quit. Feelings come and go, but your goals and your future, that's bigger than any temporary feeling. For example, think about how easy it is to want to quit in the middle of a workout when your legs are shaking. But 10 minutes later, you're proud you pushed through. Life works the same way. There were days in real estate where I felt like I was getting nowhere. I'd think, why am I doing this? But instead of making the decision from frustration, I reminded myself that success is built in the moments when no one is watching. 3, stay focused on the long game. Progress is never obvious in the moment. Sometimes growth feels like nothing is happening, but that's when the most change is actually taking place. Your dream life isn't created in one big moment. It's built in the tiny daily decisions no one sees. For example, when I started waking up at 5 a.m., the first few weeks felt pointless. But months later, I looked back and realized how much that one decision changed my entire life. I remember when I first committed to 5 a.m. workouts. For weeks, it felt like nothing was happening. I was still tired, still groggy, still questioning why I was doing it. But then months later, I realized how much more disciplined I had become, and that discipline showed up in every other area of my life. I want you to think about one area in your life where you've been avoiding discomfort. Maybe it's waking up earlier, having a tough conversation, or finally starting something you've been putting off. For the next week, I challenge you to lean into that discomfort instead of avoiding it. Take one small action step, even if it feels awkward, even if you don't feel ready. And if you do it, DM me or tag me. I want to hear about the uncomfortable thing you pushed through. Next time, we're talking about something so many of us struggle with: how to chase success without running yourself into the ground. Pushing yourself is great, but not if it comes at the cost of your well-being. In episode 6, we're breaking down how to work toward your goals without burning out so you can actually enjoy the life you're building. You won't want to miss this one. As always, thank you for spending part of your day with me. I don't take it for granted.